Next news. Breaking news from the White House.
Right now, the biggest story is not a protest in Newark, not one Democrat soundbite, and not even one clash over ICE. The real bombshell is that three fights Americans used to see as separate are now colliding into one massive battle: immigration enforcement, election integrity, and public order. President Trump and his allies are making the case that weak borders, dirty voter rolls, and mobs obstructing federal agents all come from the same failed left-wing mindset. And Democrats, they're saying the quiet part out loud. Once you hear their own words, you can't unsee what's happening next. I'll tell you why this matters, because for years the left tried to compartmentalize every one of these debates. Border security was one lane. Voting rules were another. Riots, sanctuary cities, and anti-police activism were treated like unrelated headlines. Not anymore. Under the Trump administration, the argument is being fused into one clear America First message. If you cannot trust the border, if you cannot trust who's on the voter rolls, and if federal agents cannot do their jobs without being physically obstructed, then you do not have ordered self-government. That's the fight. And we'll show you exactly what the Democrats are openly proposing. Congressman Ro Khanna is talking about abolishing ICE, packing the Supreme Court from 9 to 13, and pushing a billionaire tax. Chuck Schumer is raging that the Save America Act could let ICE remove huge numbers from the voter rolls. Nancy Mace exposed Mayor Michelle Wu after Wu claimed ICE makes everyone less safe, then refused to say arresting a child assaulter or MS-13 killer threatens public safety. Their entire framework is unraveling in public. And as we talk about trust, authority, and whether Americans can still separate truth from propaganda, let me show you something that got my attention for a very personal reason. You've probably seen the clip, Joe Rogan sitting with Mel Gibson talking about people close to him who went through serious health struggles and then saw dramatic turnarounds. Rogan brings up light-based therapies and how they impact the body at a cellular level. Gibson says it straight. This stuff works. And that got my attention because in my own life, I watched something very similar unfold. For a long time, my wife was dealing with constant discomfort and anxiety. It was one of those battles that wears you down over time. Then I came across Jonathan Otto and red light therapy at myredlight.com. We decided to look into it seriously. If you want to learn more, just check out the countless interviews I've done with Jonathan right here on this channel, or visit myredlight.com. Use NNN25 for individual items or NNN30 for bundles. Now back to a story where the left keeps trying to blur the line between enforcement, elections, and unrest, because here's the piece they do not want you focusing on. See, this is no longer just a policy argument over deportations. It's becoming a legitimacy fight over whether federal law will be enforced at all. Democrats are not merely criticizing tactics. Many are attacking the very existence of ICE, resisting voter verification, defending sanctuary structures, and then acting shocked when Americans connect the dots. Once voters start seeing these stories as one system instead of random headlines, the politics of the fight change very fast. So let's look at the receipts. Nick Sortor posting, anti-ICE rioters outside Delaney Hall in Newark tried fighting with ICE agents and immediately got blasted with pepper balls. As usual, ICE won very handily, looking like it's going to be another weekend of BS in Newark. Here's some of the video from Nick Sortor.
Against a bunch of unarmed people. No fascist USA! No ICE! No KKK! No fascist USA! No ICE!
Back up. Hey, just back up. Back up. Just back up. I got on fuck TV. You guys came up on him. You got
little bitch. You think you're so strong, okay, little bitch, now? With your phone? You think you're so strong now? How do you tell your kids? Fucking Gestapo! Gestapo! Gestapo!
You're all fucking out of control. You guys are Get out of control.
Well, if I was there, I would be just using those pepper ball guns and just unleashing. But Newark showing the pattern, anti-ICE mobs pushing the chaos, then cry foul. Next, Andrew Wilson breaks down how the left is using ICE shootings as cover for riots that they were already primed to unleash.
I'm even willing to kind of grant it to the left, just on appearance alone for a second, just for the sake of like logically taking this to its conclusion. Let's say that the cops were totally wrong on this. They messed the whole thing up. They screwed it up. It was a negligent discharge from the officer himself. It killed this guy. It was totally unjustified. Okay, but now what? Right? Is it the case that we're going to stop deporting illegal immigrants? We're going to stop, that ICE is going to stop, Border Patrol is going to stop doing its job, ICE is going to stop doing its job because of a single incident, even if all of the officers involved were incorrect? Of course not. That's ridiculous, right? The thing about this incident is it's being used as a catalyst to now say they're the Gestapo, just like they were trying to do with Renee. They're the Gestapo. They're here to be the jackbooted thugs of the Trump administration. That's being used now as the new rallying cry and catalyst and it's post hoc justification. That's what makes me so angry about it. It's like, no. You were out here doing all of this long before anybody was getting shot by ICE. Okay, you were doing this long before there was any supposed abuses by ICE. It seems like what they do is they set up the reactions, right? They set up the conditions, maximize the conditions for horrible actions to happen, and then when they do, they use those as the justification for why they were ever out there in the first place. And it's like, what's going on here? That's what bothers me.
Right. So the street violence isn't random. It's being sold after the fact as some fake moral cause. Now Trump names names pointing straight at George Soros and Reid Hoffman as money behind the agitators.
They're paid people. This is organized. They're committing acts of political terrorism on American soil. And it's time we had a government that looked out for the American people rather than the people who are committing violence against the American people.
When you go out to Portland and you see what's happening in Portland, this is like nobody's ever seen anything like it every night. And this has gone on for years. They just burned the place down. And, the shop owners, most of them have left. But the few shops that are open, they just use plywood and just like 3/4-inch plywood. They don't put storefronts because they know it's going to be burned down. These are professional agitators.
Right.
These are bad people, and they're paid a lot of money by rich people, some of whom we know. I'm sure I know some. I don't. If I knew, I wouldn't associate because I'll be in trouble because Pam will say, "Why are you associating with this person?" But I will tell you that these are bad people, and they're paying a lot of money, millions of dollars. But take a look at Portland sometime. These are crazy people, and they're trying to burn down buildings, including federal buildings. And on my list of things that I want to do before we finish up with the cities, because I think we're going to whip the cities back into shape, and we have to. We cannot let our cities, and that's a small example, but it's the most violent example. It's every night, and they've done it for years. You'd think maybe at some point they made their point, and what are they doing? But we're going to get out there, and we're going to do a pretty big number of those people in Portland that are doing that. They're professional agitators and anarchists. They're actually anarchists, yeah. Go ahead, why don't you defend? Let's see you defend them, Jeff.
No, I'm not defending anyone. I just want, so that we can just explain this in our stories. Can you name a couple?
You don't explain it right, though, Jeff. Go ahead, let's go. Maybe let's give you another chance. Go ahead.
Antifa, Soros, what names are we talking about?
Well, Soros is a name certainly that I keep hearing. I don't know, but Soros is a name that I hear. I hear a lot of different names. I hear names of some pretty rich people that are radical left people. Maybe I hear about a guy named Reid Hoffman. Somebody's a pretty rich guy, I guess, and I hear about him. I don't know. Maybe could be him.
So Trump says the unrest is organized and funded. Meanwhile, Ro Khanna says the quiet part out loud: abolish ICE, pack the Supreme Court.
I'll tell you what my agenda would be, but I think this is going to be the fight for the Democratic leadership of 2028. Now, I don't know whether I'll enter or not, but this is what the agenda should be in 2028. We should be for calling it a Dred Scott court and having Supreme Court term limits and expanding the court from 9 to 13. We should be for abolishing ICE and replacing it with a immigration enforcement office that actually follows human rights and that focuses on sex trafficking, child trafficking, drug offenders, not conducting raids in places like Minneapolis, going after undocumented immigrants who are working and paying taxes. We should be for a billionaire's tax, a tax on billionaires.
So his program tells you exactly where Democrats want to go. Now Chuck Schumer adds another piece warning that clean voter rolls could knock huge numbers off the books.
It's about voter registration. It allows ICE to kick tens of millions of people off the rolls, and they don't tell them until Election Day, and you show up and you say, you're not registered anymore, you're not registered here, you're not on the rolls. And they say, I didn't know that. This is a bill that destroys the country, and it is not about showing ID when you show up to vote. It's about the voter registration rolls, destroying them, purging them, not letting people know, and taking the rights in a algorithm put together by ICE, put together by Doge and Musk. It's an outrage, and that's why so many people don't want to pass it.
So Schumer practically admits the voter rolls are packed. The Democrats don't want them cleaned up. Next, Nancy Mace puts Boston Mayor Michelle Wu on the spot over her claim that ICE makes people less safe.
Are you willing to go to jail for violating federal law?
The city of Chicago complies with all laws.
Oh, I highly doubt that. Mayor Wu?
We are not violating federal law.
Mayor Wu, I have a last couple questions for you. Do you believe that ICE arresting a child rapist, quote, threatens everyone's safety, end quote? Yes or no?
No.
Does ICE arresting a murderous MS-13 gang member threaten everyone's safety? Yes or no?
No.
I would like to hold up this quote of you where you say ICE's efforts actually threaten the safety of everyone, end quote, Boston Mayor Michelle Wu. You're a hypocrite. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Yeah. So what it means is simple. The Trump administration has found the pressure point. Phase 1 was border security. Phase 2, public safety. Now phase 3 is public order. The question is no longer just whether illegal immigration is bad policy. The question is whether federal officers can execute federal law without mobs, mayors, and media activists trying to nullify it. That's why the SAVE Act matters so much. It bridges immigration and election confidence in one stroke. Citizenship verification, cleaner voter rolls, and restore trust in who gets to shape the country's future. When President Trump says that wealthy left-wing networks may face a RICO investigation if they're funding organized anti-ICE violence, that's not rhetoric for its own sake. That's a president signaling consequences. So don't let the corporate media shrink this down to one shuffle in Newark or one overheated interview clip. The larger story is that President Trump and the America First movement are framing immigration, election integrity, and law enforcement legitimacy as one unified issue. The Democrats keep supplying the evidence with their own words. Abolish ICE, protect sanctuary politicians, attack voter cleanup, smear federal agents, excuse anti-ICE unrest. It's all part of the same worldview, and voters can see it now. That's why the left is panicking, because once Americans understand that border control, honest elections, and public order rise or fall together, the whole Democrat argument collapses. If you believe that federal law should actually be enforced, if you believe only citizens should decide American elections, and if you believe that mobs should not intimidate officers doing their job, then this fight matters to you. So share this report, comment below, subscribe to the channel, and answer this yes or no question. Do you believe immigration enforcement and election integrity are now one issue? Let's have a conversation. Let's make sure you stay connected and get the news that you depend on when you text the words raw feed to 844-840-4963. We're bypassing the middleman, going direct to you, right to your phone, one text message a night, so that you can stay on the inside track of what's happening around the country. And celebrate America 250 with us. Check out the Next News merch shelf below this video, or simply go to shop.nextnewsnetwork.com.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this. Share this now.